So you're thinking of moving to Phoenix, Arizona? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you some pros and cons of living in Phoenix so that you can decide for yourself if this is a place that you want to move to and make part of your future. And if you stick around until the end, I'm going to tell you about my favorite spot in the city to get a great view, short little hike that almost anybody can do. And we're going to get things going right now. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, drinking, living, and moving to Phoenix and the surrounding suburbs, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified whenever I drop a new video so that you can stay on top of the market goings on around here. My name is Mike Millett, and I get questions, calls, texts, emails from people just like you all the time, from people that want to know more about the Phoenix area and what it has to offer. So if you are planning a move here within the next 9 days or 9 months, whatever your time frame is, I would love to have a conversation with you to see how I can help you make this the smoothest move possible. All right, we're gonna get started with the pros first because I'm an optimistic person, or at least I try to be. And we've got a lot of things to go over, so I wanna be as fast and efficient with things as I can. The first pro would have to be the growth here in Phoenix. We've been growing at a very high rate, especially compared to the rest of the country over the last several years. And a big reason for that is there's so many job opportunities here. We are at 1.622 million people in Phoenix, the city itself, or depending on where you look, sometimes you see 1.74 million people. That's a big discrepancy, but it's in that ballpark. We don't necessarily have an epic skyline with tons of skyscrapers like a lot of big cities do. Let's take Seattle for example, since I was just there recently, and actually we get a good amount of people that move from Washington to the Phoenix area, but they have a lot more visible skyscrapers and a little bit of a rolling city, hills and whatnot, and it just looks like a big city when you're approaching it off in the distance. But in truth, Phoenix has more than twice the population of Seattle, and the reason for that is that Seattle is about 83 square miles versus Phoenix, we are over 500 square miles. So it's a lot more spread out, and so they haven't been forced to build up as much. So with that spread, and also a lot of suburbs around Phoenix that are really tightly integrated with the city, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of different lifestyles, a lot of different quality homes, different price points. In fact, let's take a quick look at a map. Okay, so this map is from simplemaps.com. You can also try citydata.com, but it's kind of a that has more information, but it's kind of messy, hard to show things with. But just really quick, these different colors correspond with these different areas. So there's high income areas and there's lower income areas. Okay, and then to supplement that, let's check out the MLS real quick. This map here is all the hits for homes that are $300,000 or less. Actually, I'm just going to phase it through some different maps with the price points visible so that you can see for yourself. So you can see that Phoenix really has some more affordable areas, but then they also have some really pricey homes. Down here in Ahwatukee, this is separated by South Mountain, so it feels like almost its own little entity, and they kind of have their own identity, Ahwatukee Foothills, but it is part of Phoenix. And a lot of celebrities actually end up buying homes down here, and there's a lot of great hiking access here. We'll get into that in a sec as well. So kind of like I mentioned, Phoenix is really tightly integrated with several suburbs around it, and so a lot of times when people say Phoenix, they actually mean the Phoenix metro area. Includes cities like Chandler, Scottsdale, Tempe, Mesa, Gilbert, places that are 45 minutes away from Phoenix itself, but they still are kind of lumped into that. I guess also Goodyear and well, there's just a lot of them. Most of the ones that I named are kind of on the east side of Phoenix, which is more of my focus. There have been a ton of businesses coming here. We've got several Fortune 500 companies headquartered here now, and then a lot of new initiatives are here. Waymo, for example, which I actually worked for Waymo, which is Google's self-driving car company. I trained for them for a couple of years. A lot of cool things there. But when they started getting serious about putting stuff on the road, they came to Chandler, which is a Phoenix suburb, because the roads here are maintained really well and because the weather is comparatively very predictable here. So it was just an ideal place for them. There's also TSMC, which is the main microchip manufacturer in the world. They opened their first plant in the United States in Arizona, or they're in the process of it, and it's supposed to be a very big operation. There's Lucid, the electric car company. They have their plant in Casa Grande. By a lot of accounts, they're doing some impressive stuff there. But there's a lot of tech coming here, some big data centers, and there's a lot of medical that's opening up here, a lot of biotech opportunities here in Arizona. So yeah, just a lot of stuff happening with that. So a lot of businesses that are well established in other places are sending their people here. So if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you fall under that umbrella, that your job thinks Arizona is the place for you to be. So my personal theory for why that is happening so much is, well, we have a lot of 4 and 5 diamond resorts here and hotels, and kind of along with that, we have a lot of 4 and 5 star restaurants, and those bring a ton of business conferences and big gatherings from across the country, especially in the wintertime when the weather here is great. And those business people get a chance to see Arizona and what it's like and how great it can be and how amazing it is in the wintertime, and just the thrivingness of it. And so they bring their business here. And that brings me to probably the next major pro, the weather here. In the wintertime, it's phenomenal weather here. You almost can't beat it. It rarely goes under 32 degrees. I know I've told this story before, but in the wintertime, I put a sheet over my plants 2 or 3 times to protect it from a little bit of frost. But outside of that, they did fine. Most of them did fine through the winter. It doesn't get crazy cold. The high for the daytime is usually about 55 or 75, and we basically never get snow. It's pretty much unheard of. I think a couple years ago, Scottsdale got a little bit of a dusting, and it was big news throughout the area because we never get snow. I didn't get a chance to see it, but apparently it was real. We get a little bit of hail once in a while, pea-sized hail. And it lasts for, it hails for 2-3 minutes, and then it's all melted within 10 minutes. So you got to be quick almost to catch it. And it, at least, I can't promise, of course, but in my experience, I've never really seen damage from the hail here. We have sunshine over 300 days a year. So, we have people here that move here for seasonal disaffective disorder because it's just not a problem here. We get so much sunshine. It's really nice. It's refreshing to the point where I look forward to the rain. And I think a lot of people do here. In a lot of places, rain is more of a burden. Here, it's kind of a nice treat we look forward to. There's a couple times during the year where we get most of our rain, so we look forward to that. But as a whole, Phoenix is pretty dry climate. It used to happen a lot more, but still does to this day, where doctors would actually prescribe or recommend to people that they move to Arizona for the dry climate here, because it can be beneficial for certain health conditions. It can also be good for certain kinds of allergies. We have a pollen season here, but from what I've seen, it's nothing like a lot of places. Like when I first got in the Army and I was doing my training for my helicopter repair job, I was in Alabama, and the hangar floor, for a few days of the year would be just covered in just yellow powder, tons and tons of yellow powder. The pollen from trees and flowers and who knows what. The green is great, but it brings certain health concerns for people with allergies, at least. So we don't have anything on that level. We do have like mesquite trees and some other things that can dump a lot of pollen, but it doesn't seem to be on the same level as a lot of other things. So Arizona is good for a lot of people's health. So. And when the weather does get really hot, obviously that's going to be a con. But there are so many opportunities here to get out of the heat, to get away from it, and go and relax somewhere. So there's just so much accessible. You know, there's tons of camping up north in the mountains and the forest. We have a lot of opportunities there, major national parks, and there's, you know, California beaches within 6 hours drive. We have a lot of things in town. We have several water parks that are great. Lots of pools everywhere. There's city pools, there's backyard pools, there's pools. If you're not in the air conditioning, it's a great idea to live in the pool, and thankfully there are plenty of them. And there's actually more being built. There's a few surf parks that are actually being built that I know of. One in Maricopa, one in Gilbert, I think one other, I can't think of where it is off the top of my head. And then weather permitting, we have tons of outdoor activities here in the Phoenix metro area, and really more than a lot of major cities have, I think. That South Mountain that separates Ahwatukee from the rest of Phoenix has over 50 miles of hiking trails on it, and just a huge area, beautiful views. We've been up there several times on multiple different trails. There's plenty of other ones, like Camelback is a big one as well. So there's lots to do if you like hiking. If you want to blend between a city and hiking, this is your mecca. Even though most of Phoenix is flat, those mountains kind of really stand out, and most of them are really accessible. You just gotta drive a little bit to get to them, depending on where you are. So again, due to the beautiful weather we have much of the year here, we have some major national events that you know, people watch on TV, but here it's a local thing. It's part of where we are. There is the Phoenix Open in February for golf fans, the People's Open. That's a huge popular event. There is the Barrett-Jackson Auto Show auction for car enthusiasts, and that happens, I think, every October in Scottsdale. It's a huge event, and definitely worth looking up if you're into cars at all. And then we have spring training here between February and March. There are 15 teams that come here, and they play about 200 games. And tickets to a given game, depending on who's playing, can be between about $10 and $50. And it's a hugely popular event. People come from all over the country to see it, and it just brings up the energy level. It's a lot of fun for people that enjoy baseball. So, and then we have a few of our own major sports teams here, of course. There's of course the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are the only major team to win a championship here in Arizona to date. There's the Phoenix Suns for the NBA for basketball, and then there's the Cardinals for football, of course. We did have the Coyotes for hockey, but now they're moving to Utah, so they're gone. We also have Phoenix Mercury, a WNBA team who has actually won 3 championships so far, and more to come, I'm sure. And we also have Phoenix Rising Soccer, which is pro soccer. They're not at the highest level of league yet, MLS, but you know, maybe they'll get there soon. And then we have the Rattlers, which is indoor football, because that's a thing people watch and enjoy. It's separate from NFL if you haven't heard of it before. So on top of that, owing again to the great weather here, we have 165 clubs for golf. We have 185 courses for golf here in the Phoenix metro area. Just a major destination beyond just the Phoenix Open. We have 6 lakes here that are within like an hour-and-a-half drive from the Phoenix area. They are generally really beautiful lakes. They're man-made, but really just a lot to offer there. There's Salt River Tubing, which is like a really long, great, lazy river. I've done it several times, and it's really a lot of fun. You can do it in small groups or big groups, and just take your time, spend an afternoon floating down, and just a fun environment. There's wild horses there you can check out. Definitely bring sunscreen, and plan ahead. There's some nuances to it, but you can Google their website to help you figure it out, or ask me, I can help. If you're looking for a little more culture, we've got some really great museums here. There's like the Herd Museum, Desert Botanical Garden, Phoenix Art Museum. My favorite is the Arizona Science Center. Lots of cool things to check out there. And just in general, there's a lot of culture coming to Arizona, because Arizona has been very much a melting pot of national influence for several years now, and people are bringing their experience, the things that they love from where they were. They're coming here. Wherever you're from, if you're from Canada, from Washington, from Chicago, from California, from New York, from pretty much anywhere, you will be able to meet people that are from where you are, and you'll probably be able to find little touches of what you had in those other places here in the Phoenix area. Aside from that, Arizona is ranked 15th in the country for the effective state and local tax rate. We're at 9.5%. You know, we don't tax Social Security income here or VA benefits here, which is nice for me. We don't have toll roads at all in Arizona, so you're free to drive anywhere. As well, it's free as long as you don't drive crazy and get tickets and stuff. And the roads here are really well maintained and organized, especially compared to a lot of places I've been. We're on a grid system for the major crossroads and everything, so it's relatively easy to figure out where you're going and where you're supposed to, what direction you're supposed to go and whatnot. You're not going to get looped around. So let's check out a map real quick of Phoenix, not to do a full map tour, but just to give you a brief overview of some of the details of it. So like I said, this down here is Ahwatukee. This 202 freeway is newer within the last couple years, and it kind of gives an alternate route around the Phoenix metro area for people passing through there. The 303 is being built up here. There's a 404 that I believe will come out about like that. So basically they're trying to build out the freeways to accommodate the massive growth that Phoenix has had. So yeah, Phoenix, this is downtown Phoenix here, and it kind of just encompasses all of this. There's some parts here that aren't incorporated into Phoenix, so it kind of looks weird if you look at the city map outlines. It also captures a lot of this area over here where it looks like it's Scottsdale and Paradise Valley, and those are a lot of the high-end areas there as well. So but this is where most of our skyscrapers are. There's another pocket, I believe it's right there. Sky Harbor Airport is right here, so that's an important feature to consider if you will be flying in and out of the Phoenix area a lot. It is right next to downtown Phoenix, but it has a lot of freeway access to pull you in from other parts of the valley as well. They are doing some major freeway renovations here. The 143, how it connects to the I-10 is changing. So that's been coming together really well recently, but it's also been pretty disruptive to traffic. But they've actually cleaned it up quite a bit as far as how bad it affects us. Down here, it's kind of a mix of things, but there are some opportunities here for some lower priced, new or newer housing, which is kind of unique to Phoenix. I think that's the only spot. There are other newer homes through Tolleson, Litchfield Park, Surprise, I believe, Sun City West over here. Those are, you know, major retirement communities that people move from all over. And then, of course, I'm sure everybody knows Scottsdale and its more expensive cousin, Paradise Valley. Very classy areas. And then we've got Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert, Chandler. Those take up quite a bit of space over here. And there's a lot of up and coming here. Mesa is building outwards, eastward rather, significantly. Gilbert and Chandler, there's lots of new builds there. Lots of really classy nightlife that's happening there and developing there. And then we've got kind of the outliers, Maricopa, Casa Grande, that can have some really affordable housing, but they're a little bit more of a drive if you're trying to get to the Phoenix area. You know, Goodyear, Buckeye, kind of the same story. Whitman, I don't think is really taking off quite yet, but I think there's some new builds there as well. I don't usually go out quite that far. Cave Creek, super classy, newer area. And yeah, there's a lot to it. Ask me specifics, because I could go all day on this, on looking at this map and pointing things out. So ask me specifics, or, you know, prompt me for a specific video you need to see, or, you know, just wait until the right one comes out for you. And there's also Sun Lakes here, which is another retirement community. And we have lots of, or maybe not lots, but we have some scattered 55 plus communities throughout that aren't necessarily Sun City or Sun City West or Sun Lakes or anything like that. So, okay, so let's hit on the cons now. So these are reasons that you might not want to move to the Phoenix area, or, you know, at least be advised of them. I don't think any of them are that terrible, except some people might say that, I don't know, the summers are just too much, and I get that. They get high, but let's actually start with the urban sprawl. Because Phoenix is, you know, such a big city population-wise, there's a lot of work happening here, lots of jobs, and it's, like I said, over 500 square miles. That means that people are often separated from their place of work, and so they're commuting long distances. And so urban sprawl ultimately equals traffic. It means those freeways that they put so much time and work and money into get used a lot, and we're definitely not the worst for rush hour times. We're no LA, we're no New York City, or Boston for that matter, but commute times can be, depending on where you're going, like it's such an open-ended question that it's hard to say, but it's not unheard of for there to be hour and a half maybe commute times on the bad end. If there's an accident, obviously that's gonna, or something like that, obviously it's gonna slow things down significantly in some cases, but there's enough alternate routes that usually you can avoid the worst of it. We have HOV lanes on most of the routes. So if you have an EV vehicle, or a hybrid or an electric vehicle, or you're on a motorcycle, or you're driving with another person, you can hop onto those and hop off whenever you want here. There's not like lane restrictions in that way. And so those can help you get around a lot of the traffic issues. And then obviously if you're working from home, then it doesn't really matter much anyway. Or if you're working off hours that don't align with rush hour, then it's usually not a problem. Traffic is not too bad. Most of the time when I'm on the freeways, because I kind of fit into that, I do a lot of my work on the computer, or I travel in off hours, I'm usually cruising through and don't have to worry about traffic at all. So hopefully you fit in that category, but if you don't, then I would consider using Google Maps, which is a phenomenal tool for so many things. But look at your place of work and look at the areas that you're considering moving to, and kind of just try to plot out the travel times during the times that you'll be traveling, to help you get an idea, just so you can be prepared and help you decide if that makes sense for you. And also kind of the downside to our roads being relatively nice compared to a lot of places is that means that they're being worked on a fair amount, and so road construction can also slow things down. Like I said, that for example, that I-10 137 junction there, it has been having a lot of work done to it, and it's months of inconvenience to a lot of people. Thankfully they've routed things pretty well now, so it's not too bad. So one thing to consider is the crime rates of a place. As I've mentioned before, I can't actually, I have to be careful as a realtor on what I say about crime. I can't really give my opinion on things, but I can give you tools. So here is my favorite tool. It is communitycrimemap.com/map. Okay, continue. Now we're gonna scroll out. There's lots of tools here, okay, and you can prioritize what crime statistics are important to you, but these are publicly reported crime rates or crime events, occurrences. So I like to turn on the analytic layer density map. Okay. Oops. Now this will only show so many things at a time, but it does so that doesn't mean that there's never crime over here, there's never crime in these places, and that all the crime happens here. That's not real. But what you can do, one of the easiest ways to show it differently, is zoom in, and as you omit the kind of heavier areas, it'll, well, it's not giving me much. But yeah, crime does happen in every place in the country, in the world. We all know that. But this helps you kind of see where the concentrations are, where maybe it'll be a little safer in your opinion for you and your family. And actually, speaking of things that are important to you, make sure to hit the events and add or take out all the crimes that you deem to be important or unimportant. Like maybe fraud or forgery isn't necessarily important to you in deciding where you move to, but you can really fine tune it based off of that. And you can also come up here to kind of give a certain time frame based off what makes sense to you. And you can also you can also, for example, click on an event and they'll give you a little more details on those, on what exactly happened, so that you have a better sense. So I really hope that's a useful tool to you. But it is on a con just because Phoenix is a major city. Obviously, a lot of things happen. There's more people there. There's more opportunity for things to happen, and so there is going to be things that happen throughout there. But there's also areas where there's less things happening. I'm trying to be careful with how I say it, even though I'm probably being more careful than I need to be. But better safe than sorry. And real quick, the reason for that is because I don't want to influence you on making a decision on where you move based off of my interpretation of what's safe and what's not safe. That could be considered redlining or steering you towards an area or away from an area, and I don't want to have that influence. It's your decision what's important to you, what you consider safe. And kind of with that, Phoenix home prices, it's competitive. It's more affordable than a lot of major cities out there, but we have seen prices rise significantly during the crazy last few years, which we're not in right now. But Phoenix was increasing price-wise faster than any other city for several months, for I think it was over 2 years, and we actually set a record for being at the top of the list, which was great for people who owned homes who were just gaining crazy amounts of equity. But it makes it harder for people who are maybe don't have a home they can sell to buy a new one. It makes the barrier of entry a bit higher, but we're still not too bad, all things considered. The prices here are more than people are used to because they're kind of still used to what was 5 years ago. But then some of the outlier cities, they still have some really affordable homes, especially with new builds in a lot of places. Like in Maricopa, you can still get a brand new home for under $300,000, and some really nice homes for under $400,000. So there's still opportunities here. It's not just out of reach for everyone. Some areas, though, are really pricey. In fact, pretty much anything near Phoenix Metro is probably going to be pretty expensive, and some of them aren't necessarily nice areas. So it's give and take. Obviously, that's not an unusual thing, not unique to Phoenix, where you pay for convenience, location, right? But it's just a balance that is tailored to every individual person, obviously. But that's something I'm used to and actually enjoy helping people with is solving that problem of finding the best balance of location and price. The weather in Arizona is a major pro, but it's also a major con. So like I've touched on, and like you probably already know, Arizona gets hot in the summertime. We commonly get days in the 112s, around 112, and sometimes up to 115. I've been as hot as 118, or it's been as hot as 118 out there, and that can be tough. It's hard, and you do adjust to it to some degree. What feels like crazy hot in the 90s, as it gets hotter than that, it doesn't necessarily feel like it. You get used to it. Your blood literally thins, and it's not too bad. So you endure it. You complain about it. You complain about it some. You hide in the air conditioning. Make sure your air conditioning is working. Get it tuned up twice a year. Okay, change your air filters. You swim in pools. You do what you need to do. And the intense of the summer, it lasts maybe 3 months, and that's a little tough, but it's okay. Like, there's a lot to do still, a lot of water activities. Things really start cooling down probably mid-September. By mid-October, the evenings start being really nice, and probably by Halloween usually, the whole day is nice. And then you go through several months of just loving life and being outdoors and making up for all the time that you were hiding before. This being Arizona, we have a lot of snowbirds, which is people who live here in the winter months or the cooler months of the year, and somewhere up north during the hotter months. And it's a great balance. This is a great place for people like that. Best of both worlds. And I don't know, maybe I'll be a snowbird someday. But another thing that could be considered a downside, a con to Arizona, is the monsoons. We get monsoons and haboobs. I didn't make that word up. Haboobs basically look like giant dust walls that sweep across the whole valley. They're not super common, but we sometimes get one, maybe two a year. Some years we don't really get any at all. Sometimes we don't really get monsoons, but they're kind of late summer. And with the monsoons, we can get some big flooding that hits hard. It's usually not really an issue throughout the cities. There are wash areas that can be a little more dangerous, but it's generally not an issue. We get heavy rain, and that's about where it ends. We have big drainage systems built in throughout the cities, and that's part of the benefit of it being newer cities in general. The haboobs, you wash your car the next day. You don't drive during the haboob because visibility gets next to zero. You pull over and turn off your lights, etc., etc. You'll hear all that when you move here, but you just wash your car off the next day, and that's kind of the end of it for the most part. The Phoenix area does have kind of an existential fear about the future, and that is water. There's been some maybe mismanagement of how the water is handled. We pump water from underground and bring water in through some different canal systems and river systems. And there's fear that we are not managing it well for the future, and we're going to run into some major shortage issues. And there's a lot going on with that. Some of it political. I'm not in a position to advise you well of it. Do some research on it. I can help point you in the right direction if you need it, but just something to be aware of that's a concern here. Because of the hot summers, utility prices can be kind of high during the summer, depending on where you live, what kind of house, how modern it is, how modern your AC unit is. Your summer bill could be somewhere between $150 and I've heard horror stories of it being $700 or $800, and obviously there's a lot of room for improvement in those cases. If you have a huge mansion, chances are your electric bill is going to be even more than that. But just something to be aware of. In the wintertime, conversely, our energy costs are much lower than most places. I have gas heating, a gas furnace, and that bill goes up a little bit, but my electric bill goes way down from like $300 at the top to like $80 at the bottom. So that's way more manageable. Effectively, it's kind of the flip-flop of a lot of places. Your energy costs are a lot higher in the winter, and other places here it's higher in the summer. And that's the case with a lot of the climate-related topics. Is it's just flip-flopped from colder climates. For public transportation here, I would say for most people, it's not something they rely on, not something that fits their needs enough. We don't have a subway system here. Taxis aren't huge here. I guess they're not really huge anywhere anymore. Lyft and Uber, sure. Get one of those, go anywhere you want. So no subway system. Light rail system is relatively new within the last few years. They do kind of periodically expand it, but it doesn't go enough places to fit everybody's needs. But I would definitely check out the website for that. I'll flash it right there. We also have a public bus system. Actually, kind of a handful. There's some joint operations, and then like Tempe, for example, goes above and beyond. They try to have quite a bit more. So they've got their own bus service throughout their orbit. Is kind of their main one that I know of. And Orbit is actually free. Valley Metro is the main bus system that goes throughout the cities, and they do have a lot of routes, but still seem to not have really caught on as far as being a primary mode of transportation for most people. Most people have cars here. This is a car-centric city, metro system. And then my last con, I think, is going to be the school system here. Arizona is notoriously poorly funded for school systems, and I think performance-wise, we're usually ranked pretty low in public schools, unfortunately. And there's been some various things over the last few years. Red for Ed was a big thing here for a while, trying to get some more funding for the schools, and we had some real success. But I would definitely be looking up ratings for schools in an area that you're moving to. The bright side of that, though, is Phoenix and Arizona has a really friendly system towards charter schools and towards homeschool situations. So the state will help you pay for quite a bit of that. We have excellent charter schools. My 2 school-age kids are in charter school, and it's been great and way better than any public school I went to. Heritage Academy, incidentally, can definitely recommend them. They've got, I think, 4 campuses, maybe 5 and 6 through 12, and then they've got at least 1 elementary. I know they're hoping to open up another elementary here soon, which would be good for my 2-year-old, to have him go there when he gets a little bit older. But not all the public schools are terrible, of course. There's plenty of good success stories, but definitely consider charter school as a possible option. We've of course got private schools, some really great ones here as well, but it's good to have that backup so that you're not necessarily stuck with whatever you're stuck with in the place that you're at. There are a lot of open, I forget the term, but open areas to where even if you're not in the area for a school that you want, you can oftentimes apply to it anyway, and they'll make open boundaries, something like that. They'll make an exception and let you come to the school, if it's convenient for you to drop them off there, or if it's just a better school system. So. All right, so that is it for the pros and cons. I did make you a small promise. Next time you're in Phoenix, or when you move to Phoenix, I would recommend that you check out Hole in the Rock. It is up by the Phoenix Zoo and the Desert Botanical Garden. It is right in here. Hole in the Rock. So it's a really short trail, probably not even a quarter mile. Don't quote me on that. There's steps along there, stone steps, and you just loop around a little bit and just get a really pretty view of the valley. It's not up super high. It's a great place to get a really nice view of the Phoenix skyline. Sunsets up there can be incredible. Definitely bring your camera and enjoy it. This spot is super easy on the knees and everything to get up there. I've seen 60, 70-year-olds get up there really easily. Probably not if you're using a wheelchair or crutches or anything like that, but it's a pretty spot and is just kind of a cool feature and gives you a great view of the city. So definitely check it out next time you're here, okay? But thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. I really try hard to make it be. Phoenix has a lot to offer. There's some things to be aware of, certainly. We are a big city, and there's some things come with that, but I think it's a great place to live. And if you have any questions about it, please drop comments below, and I'll be happy to answer to the best of my ability, or maybe even make another video about it, like my next video is going to be. It's going to be in response to a request that a viewer had. But stick around. I'm going to have a lot more pros and cons videos. I'm going to have comparison videos, and I'm going to have map videos, tours, lots of things about Phoenix and Phoenix suburbs like Ahwatukee, Chandler, Mesa, Tempe, Maricopa, Casa Grande, the works. So I'll be your source for information, and it's my pleasure to do that. And again, if you are planning a move to the Phoenix metro area or any of the suburbs around here, please let me know. I would love to help you make that as smooth as possible. I can get you connected with a great lender and many other things to help just make it a lot easier than buying a home can be. So I appreciate you watching, and I will see you again soon.